All right, let's dive into something that so many of us feel, but almost nobody talks about out loud: workplace ageism. But here's the twist: what if it's not a dead end? What if it's actually a new beginning? Okay, let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a meeting and just felt like you were fading into the background? Like your voice and all that experience you've built up is suddenly turning invisible? Oh, you know the scene, right? You've done the work, you see the problem clearly, and you lay out a brilliant idea. And what happens? Total silence, crickets. But then, literally minutes later, a younger colleague says the exact same thing. And suddenly, it's the best idea anyone's ever heard. It is so frustrating, it's maddening, and I'm here to tell you, you are not imagining it. So, that feeling? That's the beginning of what we're talking about today. It's this unspoken shift at work. It's a pattern that a lot of people, and let's be honest, especially women, start to pick up on when they go from being seen as experienced to, well, something else entirely. And it can happen so fast. Suddenly, the words people use to describe you, they change. It's not like your skills vanished overnight, but the perception of those skills, that's what's shifting. One minute, you're experienced. The next, you're hearing whispers about being too expensive, or, my personal favorite, not a culture fit. It's subtle, yeah, but wow, is it a massive change. And listen, this isn't just you or a few people you know feeling this way. This is a huge thing. Research from groups like AARP, for example, shows just how common it is. We're talking nearly 2 out of every 3 women over 50 saying they deal with discrimination on a regular basis. 2 in 3. That's not a coincidence. That's a systemic problem. So that brings us to the big question, right? What do you do about it? Do you just accept it, see it as a dead end, like you're supposed to just slowly fade away? Or, and this is the key, could this actually be a signal that it's time for a major redirect? That's exactly what we're going to unpack. Okay, before we can figure out how to respond, we have to call it what it is. See, ageism is sneaky. It doesn't usually walk up and introduce itself. Nope, it hides in plain sight, often disguised as just another business decision. And for women, it often gets a special name: gendered ageism. It's where the biases against your age and your gender kind of mash together and create this unique, extra frustrating challenge. And you should know, this isn't just some made up term. There are actual federal laws in the US that protect workers aged 40 and over from this stuff. All right, let's get specific. Let's look at some of the common red flags. And as I go through these, see if any of them ring a bell. Your ideas only getting noticed when a younger person says them, getting fewer of those cool stretch projects, being accidentally left off key meeting invites, a new manager explaining the absolute basics of your job to you, or hearing those vague comments about needing new energy or fresh perspectives. Sound familiar? These aren't just one off things, they're pieces of a much bigger, much more dismissive pattern. And here's the real danger: all these little cuts, these subtle dismissals, they get inside your head. You start to question yourself. Am I losing it? Am I not as good as I used to be? And so, what do? We pull back. We start to shrink. We speak up less, volunteer for less, ask for less, just to avoid that awful feeling of being ignored. But of course, that just makes the problem worse. Okay, but what if we completely flip the script on this? What if this feeling isn't a sign that you need to shrink, but a massive flashing neon sign that it's time to pivot? That is the redirect we're talking about. I want you to really take this quote in. Seriously, let it sink in. If your value drops the moment you gain experience, the problem isn't you, it's the system you're in. All that wisdom, that sharp judgment, all those years you spent putting out fires and solving impossible problems, that stuff has real value. And if the system you're in is too broken to see it, that's a them problem, not a you problem. And this, right here, is the core of the whole mindset shift. Your identity is not your job title. That role you had, it was just a stop along the way, a station on your journey. It was never, ever meant to be the final assignment. So let's talk about that value, shall we? Because here's the amazing part. The very same things that a stuffy old corporate structure starts to see as negatives, yeah, those are the exact things that the open market will pay top dollar for. Let's look at this reframe in action. A corporation might see you as too expensive. You know what a client sees? Credibility. They see someone who's actually done the work. A company might call you difficult. A client calls that emotional intelligence. And the big one, not a culture fit, that's just code for pattern recognition, the very thing that keeps projects from blowing up. See, every single one of those so called negatives becomes a huge positive when you just change the context. So please remember this. What some workplaces call difficult is actually discernment. And discernment? That has serious market value. Your ability to see through the noise, to ask the hard questions, to be that steady hand, that's not a weakness. That is a straight up marketable asset. Okay, so the mindset is shifted. We're feeling powerful. Now what? Now we build a game plan. And this isn't about panicking or sending out 100 resumes. No, this is about being calm, strategic, and building your next move with intention. It's a really simple 3-step plan. Step 1, figure out exactly what you're an expert in. Step 2, package that expertise into something you can offer. And step 3, reach out to the people who already know and trust you. That's it. So step 1 is what we'll call the authority inventory. This is where you get super specific. We're done with vague words like I'm experienced. Instead, I want you to think of it like collecting receipts. What specific problems did you solve over and over again? What messes did you have to clean up? What crisis did you steer a team through? This isn't about fluff, it's about hard proof of what you can do. Okay, step 2. You take all that proof, all that authority, and you package it into a simple offer. And a really good offer just has 3 parts. First, the problem. What specific pain point is your client dealing with? Second, the process. What are the, say, 3 to 5 steps you'll guide them through? And third, the transformation. What amazing result will they have on the other side? See, you're not selling your time anymore, you're selling an outcome. And finally, step 3. Where do you find the clients? Well, you start right where you are with your warm network. Your first clients aren't going to come from some fancy website or a clever ad. No way. They're going to come from the people who already trust you. Former colleagues, people you've mentored, friends. That's where the trust and the work begins. So, let's bring it all back. That feeling of being overlooked, it really doesn't have to be a dead end. It can absolutely be the redirect you never even knew you needed. So if your job title was just a station, that leaves just one last big question. What's your next destination?